Where do you go when you need information to start your information literacy process? Well, most people today go to Google. They have by far the largest percentage of search engine users and are widely known as the source to go to when you have any kind of question. And so the question is, where do they get their information from? Well, they index, meaning they pre-store pages from websites. So they send metaphorical spiders out across the internet, and they gather these pages and they have them sitting on servers. And so when you do a search, their system looks for these terms on the indexed pages and brings them back. And that's how they can find millions and millions of hits in a fraction of a second. But how do they actually show you what they found? Well, they have a way of ranking items so that you see what they think you want to see or what they want you to see higher up on the list. Because let's be honest, how many people look past the first page of results on a Google search? And so their ranking is based on a very secret algorithm, which is a formula that puts a lot of different things into play. And one of the ways that they were effective when the internet and the World Wide Web were new was they would do things like, okay, we're going to move a site higher up on the list if it's linked out to a number of other pages. And that would mean it's less of a chance of it being a garbage page and it's something that people might actually use. Of course, since then, they've modified that quite a bit. They look at the number of click-throughs to the page, the number of appearances of the search term, and many other factors. Again, they keep a lot of that secret. But the number one reason for an item appearing on your first page of your search is if that organization actually paid Google for that item to appear high up in your list. And they can target that to a type of person, a specific demographic like age or gender, and especially they can look at your location. And so sometimes you can really tell clearly what's an ad. It'll say sponsor beneath it. And sometimes it's much more difficult to figure out exactly, is this a paid item? Did they pay to get moved up on my list, or is this really something that I wanted to see? And because Google watches everything that you do, they can figure out, how to make these companies more money by figuring out which ads are appropriate for your particular searching habits. But also, they spend a lot of time looking at what you have looked at in the past. So, for example, if you're a conservative Republican and you spend a lot of time looking at Fox News and the Republican Party and Breitbart or something like that, you probably fit into the regular platform of the party, which is religion is important, government should be small, anti-gun control, often anti-gay rights. And so if you are doing a paper for school and you're writing about gun control, Google actually builds a filter bubble around you, which means it filters out anything that might not fit in with what you like to see. And that's handy when they figure out that, well, we don't shop at this particular store, so we're not going to put in, the website for that store high on the list. But it's really bad when it isolates you from other ideas. Because the best way to win an argument, and we're not talking about just scream louder, we're talking about a reasoned argument, the best way to win that argument is to understand your opponent's position. So if they're cutting you off from the opposite position, so for example, if you think no type of gun or ammo should be banned, and you're trying to win an argument against someone who thinks that most guns should be banned, you can't really understand where they're coming from or even your own argument, because you've been cut off from that opposing position. And so your worldview becomes smaller and smaller, and you not only become a boring person to talk to, but you become very dangerous because you are not really seeing the facts about decisions and major issues that are going on. And if you're a member of a democracy, you're a voter, and you can influence what happens. So Google knows everything, according to most people. When you say What does Google have? What do they have access to? They think that Google has access to every single little bit of the internet. And the fact is, it's hard to find the exact number, but Google cannot access between 80 to 99% of the internet. And the parts that they miss are usually the best. So, for example, I work at a college. We have databases with really fine, high-quality items within them. So, peer-reviewed academic journal articles, Google cannot access those because we have them behind a firewall, a password-protected wall, a proxied wall. So, they can't access the great majority of data that you need. And when we look at the amount of data that's being created these days, it's staggering. So if we think about everything that's been created since the dawn of humankind until 2003, so this is cave paintings, this is recordings, this is the Mona Lisa, this is Nicki Minaj, everything, it's all put in there. That whole amount of data equaled 5 billion gigabytes. We now create that amount of information really less than every 2 days. And in 2017, there was 4.4 zettabytes of digital data. And a zettabyte is 4.4, in this case, 4.4 zettabytes is 4.4 trillion gigabytes. And a gigabyte is like a full-length movie. So picture of 4.4 trillion full-length movies, and that's how much digital data is out there right now. So Google is missing a really large amount of information. And this is just a fantastic little image that shows you just how much is created in all of these different social media feeds and streaming companies like Netflix. It's really crazy how much data we're creating. And that doesn't make it easier to find things. It actually makes it harder because you're just getting buried by this tsunami of useless information.